CrossFit Open. Mm-hmm. Is CrossFit even still alive? Now, what is your favorite CrossFit Open memory?
My favorite CrossFit Open memory was when I was really into dressing up and coming to work, or dressing up in general. I dressed up a lot more in my life. And I remember this one day I happened to be wearing like a black gown and I think these high-heeled boots potentially. Mm-hmm. And it happened to be a day where you were doing a CrossFit Open workout involving like a ton of like box step ups and I think like some handstand walks. Mm-hmm. And you asked me to help you count your box steps. And so I got down there in my gown and counted your steps. And it was just kind of like a perfect like summary of like our different personalities.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I don't even think I remember that, but that is wild.
That's one that stands out to me.
Nice.
Best dressed judge ever.
Yeah, right? Submit that video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was cute because even past your competitive retirement from CrossFit, you would still like get nervous for like the open, workouts and stuff.
I don't even think I was submitting scores.
No, you weren't even submitting scores. And then there was another one you did at our old gym where you were super nervous.
Yeah.
With the muscle ups.
Yeah, I do remember that one.
Double unders.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, those are not my top memories.
I'm sure you have much different ones than I would pick.
My best memory was from the first year I think it was the first year I ever did the Open. It was the first year there ever was an Open. And it was like a 6-week long, now it's 3 weeks, but back then it was 6 weeks. And I think the first week of the Open, like CrossFit ended up having like a tech issue that happened. So
I remember that.
When people submitted scores, like they didn't go in. So they're like, all right, we're going to push it back we have another week to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like, anyway, it was, but I remember like, I think it was the first workout. It was, snatches and double unders.
Yep.
And I remember doing that workout and it just being thoroughly painful. And it was on St. Patrick's Day. Uh-huh. And like I went down to like the local Irish bar on 4th Street and like had like whatever the Irish meal was. I'm trying to think. It was like
corned beef.
Corned beef. Like anyway, but flew down that weekend to San Diego for a seminar that I was attending, like an in-person course, and it was being hosted at CrossFit Invictus. And we like popped in to just see what was going on there. And I had done the workout and I was like decent at that time. Not like I wasn't amazing, but I think I got let's say I got like 7 rounds, and I thought I was like, okay, I did pretty good. Like, 7 rounds. I hadn't heard anything much better than that. And then I get there and like they're doing the open workout at Invictus and someone's like, oh yeah, that guy over there just got like 9 rounds and something. And I was like,
oh, shit.
I was like, who? Like, and I like looked over and it was like, honestly, like the most unassuming kind of short like guy. And I was like, that guy? Like who? It's like, damn. And then come to find out this guy's name is Josh Bridges. And I was like, fair. Fair. He's decent at CrossFit. And he was double unders, but he didn't, I guess he didn't know how to do double unders. Like he would do them backwards. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So I just remember that being like, cause I knew some of the good athletes at Invictus and he wasn't one of like the people I knew. And I was like, oh, I know that guy. I'm like, what, this random guy? I think that year he got like second at the games or something, but it was, it was pretty funny.
That's funny.
Yeah. So anyhow, the CrossFit Open is coming upon us. It's right around the corner, which is, the excitement and the intensity around it is so dramatically less and, lower than it was
totally
in my heyday. And, it's sad, to be honest, for me to see that, because I just know, like, we'll get into talking about this today, but there's just so many people that I came up in that world with who are still involved, and everything, like their identity as athletes or as coaches, like, is still connected to that community and that brand. And, the brand isn't doing as well as it once was, like, by a long shot. And I think the CrossFit Open was always this reminder every year of, like, just the power of this thing that brought together community, like showcased this methodology that was just so powerful and so intense and so unique. And it's just when that doesn't have that same excitement and that hype and that focus and that kind of big worldwide community, draw and feel. And it's a reminder that, those people who are still very much involved, like, I want them to all continue to succeed and have, like, a ton of, like, I want that to be as powerful as it ever was for them. And it doesn't seem like it is.
I was even thinking about that among our coaches and staff here at FPV, because in years past, people would come and do the Open in our gym.
Yeah.
And, some of our coaches are really, really killer athletes.
Yeah.
And, there'd be the nerves and the excitement and everybody preparing and, and it just doesn't seem it's like the ship has sailed,
Yeah. And it doesn't seem to have been replaced by something similar.
Yeah.
Not to say that anything is ever going to, like, replace the CrossFit Open or CrossFit as a sport. Although there are things that, there are different fitness organizations and bodies out there that are replacing. I mean, of course, there's things like High Rocks, and there's things like maybe Tough Mudders, or, like, Spartan Races, or I know that there are other fitness challenge companies that are smaller, but nothing has grown to that same level or have, like, a sort of a unified, like, season path. And I have not seen, I haven't done a High Rocks, and but from the complexity and the challenge and the sort of unknown nature of it, and the fear that kind of gets built around doing something unknown, I don't know that it compares. And not that everybody should do the CrossFit Open, but so many people did it.
Yeah.
In my years.
Yeah.
That it really, like, was special, in how it made people uncomfortable and forced them to try new things and to, reach beyond themselves. And for that reason, I kind of miss seeing it.
Yeah.
It's also the same reason why I was so frustrated with it for so many years, because I was like, oh, geez, like, all these people are just, like, pushing themselves to the absolute limit three times a week to get, like, this score. And I was struggling to, like, justify, like, people getting injured and trashing their bodies and, having 5 to 6 weeks where they were just a total emotional and psychological wreck.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why are you doing this? But then, in the absence of it, I'm like, oh yeah, like, I miss that for myself. I miss that for people in a way, aspects of it, elements of it. So
yeah. Well, that's a good segue into, I think, some angles that we could talk about that apply beyond CrossFit. But for training in general, one thing we were just talking about before we started recording was just how sometimes it is really valuable to get uncomfortable and to push yourself outside of what you would normally do in training. And sometimes it's completely not wise to do that.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. What was the Dave Castro post controversy?
Yeah, there was a post that I saw where someone had been asking a question like, should I do the open this year because I'm just coming back from injury and I'm totally like not connected to my fitness anymore? And it sounded like this person had really been through the ringer and was like not in a good place to be pushing themselves. Mm-hmm. And, you know, of course, Dave Castro was like, yes, of course you should do the open. Everybody should do the open. And it's just sort of the party line of like the open is for everybody, no matter what your state.
Yes.
And there was also some pushback to that post because there are very real cases where pushing yourself to your body's absolute limit for the sake of ... you know, is maybe not the move.
Yeah. Yeah. And if there's listeners that don't know CrossFit, don't know Dave Castro, he's been a long time, you know, sort of director and sort of CrossFit Games leader in the brand, and so he's a very prominent figure around this time of year. But yeah, I mean, this notion that like CrossFit is for everybody is certainly the tagline that they've, you know, built the brand on from the beginning. It's like our, you know, the needs of individuals vary in intensity, but not in kind, or I forget the line, but basically like we all need to do the same stuff for our fitness, just the dose or the intensity of it, like how much, like that's what varies. Mm-hmm. Like you know, I'm an elite athlete in CrossFit and you're just like coming off of injury. Well, guess what? We all need to go do functional movements. You know, we all need to do them in a varied way, and we need to do them at our own like relative intensity levels for us.
Yeah.
So to his point, it's like, yeah, sure. Somebody's coming off injury. Could you do the open? Yes. There's going to be a scaled, you know, version of it. You can, you know, dial back the weights. You can choose a movement that doesn't bother your injury. You can put yourself in an environment that is like as controlled as possible, but then you push yourself within your limits. And could you see benefit from that? Sure, you could. The obstacle is, and what, you know, you see in practice and what I saw in my experience as a coach and in this world is that when you put people in an environment of competition or of high stakes, then their ability to govern, like their, you know, listen to that voice in their head that says like, I should push, I shouldn't push, it gets very muddied.
Yeah.
And that is, that can be a detriment to somebody who's vulnerable, but it can also be a huge advantage to somebody who's very resilient. And what I mean by that is I'll take two people who are at the same level of fitness. Okay. Let's just imagine that they can do everything the same, but person A is at they've been pushing their threshold of what they can tolerate in their life in all aspects. And so if they push a little bit harder than what they're doing, they become vulnerable. This person is underslept. They have a demanding job. They've got a lot of family responsibilities. They have like 2 underlying injuries from when they were in college that are fine right now, but they're all on the edge, mm-hmm. right? And then person B, who has the same level of fitness, just as strong, just has the same ability to run a 2K, all the things. This person over here is like not even scratching the surface of their potential. They don't have a lot of stress in their life. They don't have any underlying injuries. But they've just been satisfied with this amount of pushing themselves because that's all they've ever known. They're like, oh, this is the best. I've been in the best shape I've ever been in. I don't know anything better than this. I feel good here.
Yep.
And they have a fear of pushing themselves harder. And that's what's kind of kept them at this level. So you got two people at the same level, but one person who's about, you know, literally like one deadlift away from like, you know, hurting themselves. Mm-hmm. And then this other person who's like, they have a mental obstacle that has like a fear of something happening that has kept them from pushing themselves. You put both those people in the CrossFit Open, one person will end up injured after week 2 or 3. The other person will have 3 to 4 weeks where they stretch themselves further than they ever thought possible. They unlock this like new self-confidence because they just saw themselves do something that they were afraid of. And they walk away being like, oh my gosh, like I have a newfound like drive and ambition, and I overcame a fear, and they would have never done that had they not put themselves in an environment to feel like the stakes were high, to have a surge of, adrenaline and cortisol inside their body that gave them momentary superpowers,
right,
where they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this thing. Like,
right,
this is incredible. And then if the community around them is, supportive, like, oh my gosh, like people cheered for me. I felt so inspired, and I got to see and I saw those same two people in the same environment have wildly different outcomes. And, it's like, how do you determine whether you're on one side of that or the other?
Yeah.
And whether it's okay to push yourself?
Yeah. Well, that is a question for you, because I think some people are just going to the gym to be healthy, and it's really, that's it. It's not part of their self-development. It's not part of their identity. And other people really have grown as people because of how the gym can test a person mentally, emotionally, and physically all in one. And at the same time, the people in that category have very real limitations they're up against, injuries and stressors in their life. And the person who's 45 and working shift work and a parent to young kids, is going to have a very different physical experience in the open than someone without those factors. So,
yeah,
or in any sort of test of maybe they're going to an Olympic weightlifting competition or a Hyrox event or running a half marathon or whatever the stressor may be.
Yeah. Well, what I remember about the years that I was invested in the CrossFit community and the CrossFit Open year after year after year was that there was unfortunately this sort of culture that was, if like you should do the Open. If you don't do the Open, you're kind of weak
you're
sauce.
An outsider.
Yeah, you're out. You're out in an outsider. And I think what that ended up looking like was a lot of people participating based upon peer pressure and based upon this pressure that they were feeling outside of themselves.
Sure.
Or this feeling of like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm weak. And I think there was a lot of that in the CrossFit culture. It was like, oh, you don't want to Olympic lift, like you suck. Like, you do like, that's what we all do. It's like, okay, everyone's doing it, I got to do it. That sort of be part of the tribe. And I think what's better is to just really be honest and lay it out. Like this is what's on the table.
Yeah.
Like whether whether the CrossFit Open can be for everyone or not, like just know that when you put yourself in this position, you're going to push yourself harder than you would otherwise. And that can be good and that can have drawbacks to it. Like, hey, going on a roller coaster is going to elevate your heart rate. It's going to elevate your blood pressure. It's going to push your heart. There's a physiological thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like if you're like at a heart disease risk, like if you have a bad heart, like probably not a good idea to go on that. It's like someone gets to make the choice. It's like, but I really want to go on the roller. It's like, just be honest about it. And I think that was kind of missing from, the CrossFit Open narrative was like, it's all of these great things, but it's also all of these things that could potentially be like more than you can handle. Yeah. And it's okay to say, I don't want to push myself that hard right now. It's okay to be like, if you don't wake up and David Goggins your life, like you can still be a good human. Yeah. Like you don't have to wake up and be like, I didn't do the hard thing. I didn't get in the cold plunge. I didn't do the, it's like, you're not a shit person because you didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the post I saw the other day on Sean Casey's like feed. It was like, bring back warm water. It's like, I like wake up and like take a warm shower and feel fucking good about it. It's okay to take a hot shower. Like, that's all right. You're still a good human. You know, it's like, it's okay to wake up and not do the open and not feel like, oh, I'm such a quitter because I didn't do the open.
Yeah.
So again, it's like a check in with yourself. Like, what am I really like? Am I seeking, like, do I really want to go out and am I seeking something challenging right now? Like, am I seeking, have I been looking to push myself, you know? And I've had clients in the past that have said that to me. It's like, I feel like I really want a goal. I want something to push myself. And I'm like, here's a great goal, you know, versus the person's like, oh my gosh, like, I kind of feel like I need to do the thing. Like, I feel like I got to do this because like so-and-so's doing it. Or it's like, I don't know. I feel like if I don't do it, like I'm just not going to be pushing myself hard enough. Right. And it's like, look, if you're questioning whether this is the thing for you, if like somebody else is telling you have to do it, like wait for the internal signal and the internal cue to be like, this is my time. I know for myself, like I look at even just within my own training throughout the year, you know, I will look at something and be like, God, I really want to I think I want to incorporate more of that into my training. And then I go in and I incorporate it. And after a week, I feel more tired. I feel more vulnerable. Like my emotions are a little dysregulated. My sleep starts to suck. And I'm like, oh, I guess I wasn't really in a good state to take that on.
Yeah.
So, and that's, you know, something that I just have to accept. So it's like, okay, if I want to do this thing, I got to make sure I make room for it in my life.
Yeah.
And that was a big reason why I retired or why I stopped doing the CrossFit Open, because it was like, I don't have room in my life to do this thing in a way that feels balanced to me. And plenty of people are like, why don't you just do the open, just have fun and just do the thing? I was like, I don't know how to do it like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. Like when you said it just earlier. It's like, I did one open workout for like the 3 years that followed my finishing competing.
Yeah.
I did one a year. I would pick the year that had like the exercises that I was the best at, like that were like kind of, you know, my wheelhouse workouts. And I would still be like an emotional wreck and like, you know, come into the gym because it's like so much was riding on that for me, like my identity and how I performed. And like, if I didn't get a score that was competitive in the worldwide rankings, then I would really have to accept like, not only did I retire, but like I am no longer in the top. I'm not the best anymore. I'm just good, or I'm above average. Like, and I didn't want to feel that. I didn't want to accept that yet. So I put all this pressure on myself to just do a workout that only Satya in her nice clothes was going to see. Like nobody else was.
You didn't even post it on Instagram.
Video, nothing. Just me laying on the floor being like, why did I do that again?
Why did I just do that?
I just want to cry. So it's it's important to just acknowledge the power these things have, you know, and the CrossFit Open is not something that I think a lot of people could really fully embrace or fully appreciate the power of it that hadn't done it. And I've done some like social endurance events or even some competitive endurance events where it's, you know, there's a bit, I mean, you can take those as seriously as you want, but it's like, there's a different vibe about those. I mean, there's nerves that come into it. A lot of people prepare for them, but you know, the open is just, you know, that the style of those workouts is just very potent in terms of like how they impact your physiology and really drive stress and adrenaline super, super high. So, anyhow, that's, I don't know. I'm not even sure where the question started, but it's like, this is a lot that I feel comes up for me when I think about that for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's so important to just double check that you're actually connected when you are putting your body through an extreme amount of stress like that. And that's why I was thinking about it. I was like, why I've done some open workouts. I don't even think I've fully completed a full open. I've definitely participated in the open, but like none of those stand out as like good open memories for me because I have never felt connected to the open, and I've never felt connected to competing in CrossFit, even though I did CrossFit for several years, like strictly. And so something though, like the Olympic weightlifting competition I did was much more connected for me, and I trained hard for it, and I prepared and I focused, and it meant a lot to me. And those two things are just such different experiences in my mind. And so I think like making sure that you're choosing, if you do feel called to like have a goal and go after something, making sure that you're choosing something that you're really personally connected to, and not just like kind of getting caught up in the hype around or swept up in the peer pressure of.
That's beautiful. Yeah. There's so many things that you can step out of your comfort zone to go do and challenge yourself mentally, emotionally, physically. Certainly in sport, maybe it's like you said, a weightlifting competition, or maybe it's my wife, joining a band and
I was thinking about that
singing
too.
on stage, and all of the emotional and psychological fear and anxiety that comes up in that. And, that was a big reason why the Open every year was so important for me. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it so much. I hated most competitions I did in CrossFit, but I also was like, this is why I'm doing it. And I'm doing it so that I can grow as a human. But that's because I felt connected to it. And, if you're not feeling connected to it, and you're on this you're on the injured spectrum or stressed out spectrum, like, guess what? Whether you're emotionally connected to it or not, like, the workouts are still brutal, and you'll get a surge of adrenaline, and you'll get in there, and you might push yourself harder than you've ever pushed before. And if your body's not prepared to tolerate that, then, that might not be the place to go and push yourself. Because look, I don't know a lot of people that have finished the Open. There's probably some, but people that like finish the Open, general population, not like super competitors who got injured in the Open and were like, that was fucking worth it. I like that. I really like competitors will get injured in the Open. They're like, hey, it's the price you pay to play. But it's like, I just showed up to class and I'm
the
everyone was cheering for me. Everyone was cheering like crazy in my face. And it was Friday Night Lights, and the music was bumping. There was a DJ there, and my judge was up in my face, and they're telling me to do one more. And I slipped off the bar and I broke my wrist, and I really wish I hadn't done that. Like, I don't know why I did that. That was fucking ridiculous.
Right. I lost $20, and my score is like, in the bottom 35th percentile.
And now it says DNF on it.
Right.
Well, any last thoughts on this one, or?
I think my only last thought is that if you're somebody who does want to push yourself, there are lots of fun ways to do that. So I think that like there's something spicy about like seeking a challenge. Just make sure it's a good one for you.
Yeah. And I love the idea of finding something a physical outlet to go and challenge yourself with, or to tackle something new. And it could be just taking up a new sport. It could be, signing up for an event. It could be inside the gym, inside of your normal training.
Yeah.
You could just say, hey, you know what? Like, I'm going to level up my effort inside of training for the next training cycle of Persist.
Yeah.
These 6 weeks, I'm really going to push myself. I'm going to dial myself in, and I'm going to see what I can actually accomplish. And then if you love CrossFit, if you still are thirsty for the Open, then you can do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's still a great challenge and test of fitness. And if you're somebody who's done Persist Perform or Persist Pump Condition or even Persist Pillars, and you want to go and give the CrossFit Open a crack, like, you probably have the foundation, more than likely have all the foundational needs that you have physically to go out and perform and to feel really good about yourself and to challenge it. So
Yeah.
you can do that.
I love those stories we get of people who have not been engaging in CrossFit at all, and they jump into the Open or a CrossFit class.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, I really surprised myself. You know? Yeah.
For real.
It's great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. DM us if you've done anything challenging lately in your fitness that isn't the CrossFit Open. And if you're doing the CrossFit Open, let us know.
Yeah,
and tell us how. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear those stories.
Yeah.
All right. See you next time.
See ya.